Hello and welcome to my channel, The Way What Is Truth. Remember to like and to subscribe and to comment down below. Now you may have noticed that I'm in a different room today. I'm actually in my day room upstairs, right? And I thought of a really neat idea for a video, and that's how to stay positive as Christians within the midst of our trials and tribulations in life, okay? So what I did is that I went on my mobile phone to try and get some inspiration, as people do these days. I know a lot of people hate these things, especially when it comes to reading Bible passages from your mobile phone instead of the actual Bible. But the thing is that you can get more Bible passages from more different parts of the Bible by using... you get different Bible passages from different versions of the Bible. That's what I meant to say. So it's a little bit more versatile. It's a little bit easier to get information quickly with a mobile phone, obviously. Anyway, I'm on this site called Becoming Christians. That's the name of the website, right? And I'm about to read an article that was written on September the 5th, 2017. Now, before I start reading from this, I'm going to give you a few words of wisdom for myself about how to stay more positive. And this is one of the most overlooked things, but if you're someone who suffers from depression for whatever reason, or you've got life problems, try getting a pen and paper and writing down a list of things that you have to be grateful for. Whether it's the clothes on your back, enough food to eat, a roof over your head, if you're fortunate enough to have those things. Write down a list of all the things in life that you have to be thankful for, and that in and of itself will lift your mood. And obviously things like exercising enough, eating healthily. I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence by telling you how to eat healthily, because everybody knows how to do that. Virtually everybody does. It's common sense. Drinking enough fluids, and obviously communicating with whatever family we do have. Now, a lot of people are not fortunate enough to have family. I have a small family, thank goodness, or should I say thank God for that. So definitely write down a list of things you have to be thankful for. And stuff like positive self-talk as well. And talk to people who are uplifting. Try and stay away from negative people, because negative people will only drag you down. These are people that I would like to call emotional vampires, because that's who they are. They will feed on your positive life energy, so to speak. So you've got to stay away from people like that. Pray for them, but we have to be careful who we have in our inner circle in life. Okay. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to read from this article. And now it's called 10 Biblical Keys to Staying Positive in the Midst of Trials, right? I'm not going to read all of the first part, but basically he's saying trials, obstacles, problems, dilemmas, maladies, challenges. These are just some of the unpleasant words to describe the different situations in life that may send us off from our comfort zone. Whether we face relationship, financial and health problems, there's no doubt that we can easily be discouraged. Okay. And then he goes on to say, when the storms of life hit us, how do we stay positive? How can we survive the different problems that may challenge our faith? More importantly, where can we obtain the strength to stay on course in our Christian walk? The obvious answer to that is the Lord Jesus Christ, isn't it? But it's not always as simple as that from our perspective, though. That's the most fascinating thing about all of this. You see, I've done enough videos on my channel talking about, and indeed just mentioning, my life problems, my loneliness, my depression, my lack of friends, the way I've only had one relationship at the age of 34, which went wrong after 6 months. Now I think enough is enough. I need to do one video about how to stay positive. I think I've mentioned stuff like this in other videos, but this is going to be the main one, okay? Because I realise that people don't always like to hear about other people's problems, especially when they have problems of their own. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I thought about doing this video, to try and uplift as many people as possible. Anyway, it says here, thankfully, the Bible is full of passages that help us overcome trials in our lives. God knows that it is through much tribulation that we enter his kingdom. Remember something, God never promised to take away our problems, but he did promise to help us through those problems, right? Life was never always meant to be a bed of roses, right? That's just a fact. Anyway, the first point it goes over is this. Key number 1. Remember, this is 10 biblical keys to trying to stay as positive as possible within the midst of our trials and tribulations in life. So key number 1, accept that trials are a part of life, right? Sometimes one of the most astonishing attitudes of Christians is being surprised when they experience troubles in life. They see problems as a strange thing. While it is true that life is unpredictable, we need to understand that problems are a normal part of life. The Apostle Peter tells us, "Beloved, do not think it strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened to you." Peter 4:12. That's 1 Peter 4:12, right? And then it goes on to say this. Peter was very much aware that problems will come your way, whether you are ready for it or not. We need to be realistic. No one is exempted to life's challenges and trials. Even Jesus Christ himself suffered to the extent of experiencing the most gruesome death the human mind could ever comprehend. Christ said this. "Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you." And that's from John 15:20. So that's something else to bear in mind. The sooner we accept that trials are a normal part of life, then we can prepare for the worst thing to happen in our lives. Yeah? Key number 2 to staying positive within the midst of our trials and tribulations. This is the second key. Realise that all things work together for good. We need to remember that no matter what happens in our lives, we can have the confidence that God is in complete control. He is always in charge. Romans 8:28 tells us this, right? And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. So in other words, whatever's going on in our lives, whether it's financial problems, loneliness, depression, health problems, mental health problems, God can take it and use it for our good, especially in the long run he can. So, yeah, notice we can hold on to this verse as long as we love God. We are part of God's plan of salvation and we can have an assurance that God will work all things out. Though we might not understand exactly why we are suffering right now, we can always be happy with the thought that everything will eventually fall into its proper place. We can come to the point when everything will make sense, be it during this lifetime or in the life to come. Because don't forget, often when we suffer in this life, we get rewarded in the next. So let's never lose sight of this. Okay. Now, this is key number 3 to staying positive within the midst of our trials and tribulations in life. We can handle any trial that comes our way. This is something else that we can lose sight of. Do you know that God will not give a trial that we cannot bear? We read, "No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it." That's 1 Corinthians 10:13. Whatever we're going through in life, God will give us the strength that we need to get through it. No more, no less. Okay? He will not wave a magic wand, in other words, and take away all of our problems. Right? He certainly has not done that with me. And let me tell you something right now. No discipline feels good at the time, but God disciplines those who he loves. He's certainly done that with me. Anyway, let me carry on reading this. Did you grasp the full meaning of this verse? God is telling us that he will only give us a trial that we can handle. Okay? Therefore, if you feel like your burden is too heavy, that is how much God believes in you. Just imagine that. Yeah? Be thankful because God is showing you that you are strong enough to handle such a problem. You can have the confidence that God will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. Now, if you give up too soon, how can you witness God's miraculous power of making a way of escape? How can you see how God will solve your problem? How can you witness the way God will fight your battles for you? Therefore, be steadfast, be patient and courageous. Why? Because God will make a way. Isn't that beautiful? Now, key number 4, right? Count it all as joy. Yeah? The typical human response to trials is depression, anxiety, panic, frustration, remorse, and bitterness. However, that is not how God wants us to handle problems in life. We need to have a mindset that runs contrary to our human nature. Okay? Instead of dreading the trials that come our way, we need to count it all joy. Sounds counterproductive, but it is really what we must do every time we face trials. We read, this is out of James 1:2, by the way. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Now, this is out of 1 Peter 4:12-13. Beloved, do not think it strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you as though some strange thing happened to you, but rejoice to the extent that you partake of Christ's sufferings, so that when his glory is revealed, you may also be glad with exceeding joy. Yeah? Now, this is out of Matthew 5:11-12. This is all gold, folks, so I can only hope and pray that you're still watching, and definitely tell people about this video, because you best believe that this world is weighed down with many, many problems of all different kinds, okay? Many burdened people out there, and they need to hear this message, this positive, uplifting message that I'm doing right now with this video. Anyway, Matthew 5:11-12, okay? Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Right? Notice that we are not just to be joyful, but be exceedingly glad. To be filled with an indescribable feeling of joy, blessedness and happiness. This is how we can stay positive even when we are in our darkest hour. Okay? Now this is key number 5. Look for the lessons from your trials, because oftentimes things happen to us for a reason. Have you ever heard that expression, what goes around comes around, and we get out of life what we put into it? One of the reasons why God allows us to suffer is to teach us valuable life lessons, okay? Every time we face problems, instead of asking, why me, God? How many times have I done that? I've often said that. We rather should ask, what's the lessons we must learn from this trial? Having a simple shift of focus gives us a powerful reason to stay positive in life. When we have this kind of thinking, all of a sudden we can now see the meaning of our suffering. We don't suffer for nothing, we suffer because there's a purpose. We have read in the previous point that we must be joyful in the midst of our trials. But why? James tells us this. This is out of James 1:2-3, by the way. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. It's all character building, in other words, yeah? We can see here that our faith stays weak if it won't pass through trials. This is supported by the Apostle Peter when he wrote, in this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by various trials, that the genuineness of your faith, being much more precious than gold that perishes, though it is tested by fire, may be found to praise, honour and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ. That's 1 Peter 6-7, right? And then it goes on to say this. Part of our Christian calling is the testing of our faith. If your faith is not being challenged by problems, then you can be certain that there's something wrong with how you live as a Christian. Therefore, to stay positive in the midst of trials, we need to look for the lessons in our lives. Maybe God is teaching you something through your problems. Perhaps we have been tolerating a sin in our lives, and God is telling you to change. Whatever your trial is, you can be sure that there is a lesson that you can learn from it. Now, let me just add something to this, okay? Let me add something to key number 5. I know for a fact that ever since I've been a teenager, in fact, ever since my early teens, never mind mid to late teens to now, I've had a healthy sex drive, okay, and wanting to have intercourse with members of the opposite sex, wanting to be in a relationship with a member of the opposite sex and to have a girlfriend is something that I've craved so much for so many years. And anyone who knows anything about me knows I had my first relationship at the age of 34, okay? But God has disciplined me in this way. He hasn't let me just have as many girlfriends as I want, or just to be promiscuous or hedonistic. He's put a block on it, saying, look, Peter, your focus should be on me. Don't focus on the temporary pleasures of this world that you've craved after for so many years. I'm disciplining you because I love you. That's what he's been telling me. That's just one of the things. That's just one of the areas where he is disciplined in me in life. Okay, so I just thought I'd mention that. I'm human. We crave relationships. We crave food and drink, but we don't need to be having intercourse with members of the opposite sex in order to survive. We need to drink water to stay hydrated and to stay alive. We need to eat, otherwise we'll starve to death. But stuff like sex and stuff like that, the things I've been craving for years, that's not a necessity. The world makes out it is, but it isn't. Anyway, I don't want to make this video too long, so without further ado, I'm going to read key number 6. Establish a healthy relationship with God. Trials should draw us closer to God. When we walk in the valley of the shadow of death, we will fear no evil. Why? Because God is with us. Psalms 23:4. When we draw close to God, we draw close to the source of all comforts. Okay? Only God can fulfill anybody. No woman, no friend, no human being, no man or woman is ever going to fulfill me. Only God can. In Psalms 34:18-19, we read this. The Lord is near to those who have a broken heart and saves such as have a contrite spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. How wonderful is that? Instead of running away from God when we have a problem, we need to run toward him. While we may think that other things may bring comfort in our lives, such as drugs, alcohol, and other worldly vices, and I will include pornography in that because that's something else that a lot of people watch, pornography, in order to comfort themselves, yeah? Anyway, they will just ultimately lead to destruction and not life. There's many things that people do that will ultimately leave them feeling empty because it's just things that we keep returning to, like a dog keeps returning back to its vomit. Okay, so yeah, when we are weary from life's trials, Jesus commanded us this. Come to me, all you who labour and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:28-30. And then it goes on to say this. When you are close to God, no problem is too great for you to handle because you are not alone. You are in God's loving hands. Okay? So let me just go over these 10 biblical keys to staying positive in the midst of trials and tribulations. They're all written down here. So far we have gone over, just to recap on all this, we've just read number 6. So number 1 was accept that trials and tribulations are a part of life. And number 2, realise that all things work together for the good. Number 3, we can handle any trial that comes our way with God's help. Number 4, count it all as joy. We're talking about character building stuff here. Number 5, look for the lessons from your trials and tribulations, because there are life lessons to be learned from all of our problems. Number 6, establish a strong relationship with God. And that's where we are right now. And I'm going to cover number 7, focus on God's coming kingdom. Number 8, seek godly counsel. Number 9, study the Bible. And number 10, pray to God. Right? So now we're on number 7, which is focus on God's coming kingdom. Right, so focus on God's coming kingdom. This world is ruled by Satan. That's out of 2 Corinthians 4:4. We need to realise that the whole world is deceived by Satan. Revelation 12:19. Thus, we must not be surprised why this world is full of suffering, death and evil. When we suffer, we can confidently say, this too shall pass. We know there will come a time that God will directly intervene in the affairs of men. God will send his Son for the second time here on earth, not as a helpless baby, but a conquering king who will establish God's kingdom. Right? So, though we may suffer a lot of things here on earth, these sufferings pale in comparison when we consider the prosperous, harmonious and peaceful world we are to experience when God's kingdom is here. Right? As a matter of fact, the incredible joy of being in God's kingdom is beyond human comprehension, we read in 1 Corinthians 2:9. Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him. God should always be our main focus, and not self-pity, not being embittered or jaded or full of depression or self-righteousness or whatever. It should be God. If we focus our minds on God's kingdom and all the wonderful things it will bring in our lives, we must not get discouraged. No matter what life throws at us, we can be confident that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. That's Romans 8:18. Now, key number 8, seek godly counsel. Okay? Problems are there for us to solve. Indeed, that's why God has given us a brain, okay? However, it does not mean that we must solve it by ourselves. When trials arise, it is helpful to seek godly counsel from the servants of God like our pastors, ministers and elders. We can also ask for help from our family and friends who can also offer godly advice. We read in Proverbs 11:14. Where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counsellors there is safety. It won't hurt to ask for advice from others. Seek as much information and counsel as possible. From there, you can have an idea what to do with our problems or trials. In most cases, your friends or pastor personally know you. Thus, they can provide the right advice unique to your situation. Now, key number 9. Study the Bible. The Bible is full of practical wisdom to help you overcome your problems in life. The Bible is the ultimate authority and source of wisdom. Thus, if there's one place you want to find the answers to your problem, then it must be the Bible. Amen to that. We read in 2 Timothy 3:16-17. All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, thoroughly equipped for every good work. Right? Furthermore, aside from practical advice, the Bible is full of comforting words and passages. Here are some. Oh yeah, there's just a link here that leads to some Bible verses that help people in their troubles and sufferings. I'm not going to read that, obviously. Now, key number 10. I thank you so much if you're still watching this, by the way. Comment down below, definitely, if you have anything to add to this video. Now, key number 10. Pray to God. I've said this time and time again that prayer is incredibly powerful. Prayer is powerful. It is the highest privilege given to mortal men to talk to the supreme ruler of the vast universe. With prayer, we don't need to set an appointment All we need is to speak our hearts to God, and we know that He hears us. Okay. In times of troubles, we need to talk to God and seek comfort from Him. By praying to God, we can establish a stronger relationship with Him. God is more than willing to help us with our problems. He is always there to take care of us. Right? No matter how big our problems may be, we can always be happy to know that God is greater than our problems. Nothing is too hard for God as long as we follow His will in our lives. We read in 1 John 5:14. Now this is the confidence that we have in Him, that if we ask anything at all according to His will, He hears us. But it's got to be in accordance with His will. So if we're asking to win the national lottery, He's not going to follow through on that, is He? We read in 1 John 5:14. Now this is the confidence that we have in Him, that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us. Thus, as we pray, we can approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Hebrews 4:16. In fact, it just says Hebrew 4:16 there. Now, I might as well read these final words before I end the video. Okay, I can only hope and pray that somebody has been helped by this video. Definitely feel free to shoot the breeze about anything at all, even something that's not related to this video down below in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Final words. These are the 10 biblical keys to staying positive when we face hardships in life. While it is true that staying positive can be very challenging, especially when things start to fall apart around us, you just remember these 10 keys and I'm sure that you can have a better chance of overcoming problems in life. So let's be realistic here. No one is going to listen to my video or read these 10 keys, and it's not going to have a magic wand effect where all your problems are going to disappear. This is life we're talking about. Life is tough, but we need to stay focused on God, and these 10 key points that I've mentioned in this video that I've read out of this great article. So most importantly, bear in mind that you can't solve your problems on your own or stay positive by doing your own thing. You need to remember that it is God who will guide and help you. He is the one who goes before you. Now, Hebrews 13:7. So be at peace, be positive. God will be with you, for He Himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Now, before I end the video, I'm just going to go over those 10 key points that I've gone over already. So the first one is accept that trials and tribulations are a part of life. Don't I know that, and don't millions and millions of others, okay? The second point, again, realise that all things work together for the good. Whatever it is that you're going through, financial problems, relationship problems, health problems, loneliness, depression, whatever it is, God can take it, turn it around and turn it into something really, really great, The third point, we can handle any trial that comes our way. In other words, God doesn't let us go through anything that we can't handle. So that just shows us how much confidence He has in us, yeah? Number 4, count it all as joy. Easier said than done, but yeah, we should have that attitude as Christians, okay? Number 5, look for the lessons from your trials. Oftentimes when we're going through problems, there are lessons, life lessons to be learned. How many people have ended up in trouble, for example, because of greed, because of lust, because of idolatry, because of vanity, self-importance, self-pity, anger, to name just a few things, yeah? So we need to look for the lessons from our trials in life. Oftentimes, obviously, bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people, but nonetheless, it still applies. Right, so number 6, establish a strong relationship with God, okay? Remember what I was saying in my video that I did the other day about how everything else is quicksand and only God is the solid ground? That's so true, especially within the midst of our trials and tribulations in life. Number 7, focus on God's coming kingdom. It's all too easy to get bogged down with this life, to get up and worried about this life that we're in now. We need to focus on the bigger picture. Focus on Jesus, and he becomes all we can see. When we focus on our problems, that becomes all we can see. So we need to be careful. Number 8, seek godly counsel. So whatever pastors or elders we know, whatever family we have, if we're fortunate, if we're fortunate enough to have good Christian friends, then we should go to them, share our problems. Okay. And whatever sins we're guilty of, we should share them with fellow Christians as well, so that we can have some sense of accountability for the wrongdoing in our lives as well. Number 9, study the Bible. It sounds like a no-brainer, does it not? But you'll be amazed at how many Christians do not read the Bible enough. Number 10, pray to God. Prayer is powerful. Prayer is incredibly powerful, and so often in life we limit God because we underestimate his power. Oftentimes in life we think our problems are too big for God to handle. Of course, that's nonsense. Nothing is too big for God to handle. So I hope and pray that you've enjoyed this video. Like I said at the start of the vid, or it was somewhere close to the start of the video anyway, in many of my videos, not all of them by any means, but in quite a few of my videos I've mentioned my loneliness, my depression, my lack of friends, the way I've only had one relationship. I haven't always mentioned those things in each of these videos where I've mentioned my life problems, but I thought, you know what, enough is enough. It's about time I did a video like this about how to stay positive as Christians. So again, I'm looking forward to reading any comments down below. I hope and pray that you're all well. Bye bye and take care.